relationship with God mean that you take cues from God for decisions that you make and that you would make as president? You've talked about God inspiring you to marry your husband, telling you to marry your husband, to get into politics, to take certain decisions about your career, as we just talked about.
Well, I do have faith in God, and I learned it right here in Iowa. We're in Ames, Iowa right now. I was born in Waterloo, Iowa. I'm heading up there to say thank you to everyone who instilled my early values in me, and that began at our church. My parents took us to church every week. We went to a Lutheran church, First Lutheran in Waterloo, and they prayed with us at night. We prayed before we had mealtime. They really instilled wonderful values in us, and I recognized that I'm not perfect and that I need God in my life, and that's really helped me to set my course.
And God has guided your decisions in life. Would God guide your decisions that you would make as President of the United States?
Well, as President of the United States, I would pray. I would pray and ask the Lord for guidance. That's what presidents have done throughout history.
But
George
you said
Washington
that God called me to run for Congress. God has said certain things about, going to law school, about pursuing other decisions in your life. There's a difference between God as a sense of comfort and safe harbor and inspiration, and God telling you to take a particular action.
All I can tell you is what my experience has been. I'm extremely grateful to have a faith in God. I see that God has so blessed this country. We've heard that song that He's shed His grace on the United States. I believe that. He's been very good to our country. And I think that it's important for us to seek His guidance and to pray and to listen to His voice.
Would you appoint an openly atheist person to be a member of your administration, your cabinet, or even as a judge to a court?
Well, my criteria would be, first of all, how do you view the Constitution? If you uphold the Constitution, if you're competent, and if you share my views, then you can get appointed. That's my litmus test: is do you stand for the Constitution? Are you competent? And do you share my views?
But an atheist would be acceptable to you as a member of your administration?
That wouldn't be a question I would ask.
Okay. I want to also ask you about your interpretation of the Bible and your feelings about gays and lesbians. You have said in recent years that opposition to same-sex marriage is a defining political debate in this country. You're opposed to it. You'd like to see a constitutional ban against it in this country. And during a speech that you gave in 2004 at an education conference, you spoke openly and in detail about gays and lesbians. And I want to play just a portion of that speech and have you react to it.
It's a very sad life. It's part of Satan, I think, to say that this is gay. It's anything but gay. It leads to the personal enslavement of individuals. Because if you're involved in the gay and lesbian lifestyle, it's bondage. It is personal bondage, personal despair, and personal enslavement. And that's why this is so dangerous. We need to have profound compassion for people who are dealing with a very real issue of sexual dysfunction in their life and sexual identity disorders.
That is the view President Bachmann would have of gay Americans?
Well, I am running for the presidency of the United States. I'm not running to be anyone's judge. I do stand
very... But you have judged them.
I don't judge them. I don't judge them. I am running for presidency of the United States.
Is that the view of gay Americans that President Bachmann would have?
Well, my view on marriage is that I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, and that's what I stand for. But I ascribe honor and dignity to every person, no matter what their background. They have honor and they have dignity.
Do you think gay Americans hearing quotes like that from you would think that that's honor and dignity coming from you about their circumstance?
I am not anyone's judge, and I'm not standing as
Congresswoman, do you think anybody hears that and thinks you haven't made a judgment about gays and lesbians?
That's all I can tell you is that I'm not judging.
So your words should stand for themselves.
I'm running for the presidency of the United States. That's what's important.
Would you appoint an openly gay person to your administration, to your cabinet, or name them as a judge?
My criteria would be the same which would be, where do you stand on the Constitution? Are you competent? And do you share my views? That's my criteria.
But those views are pretty clear. So you would, as far as a judge, you talked about that. An openly gay person is acceptable as a matter of your administration? as a member of your administration?
I have my criteria for what my appointments would be based on, and it's whether you uphold the Constitution, if you're competent,
So
and if you share my views. I am not out asking any other questions.
One last one on this. Can a gay couple who adopt children, in your mind, be considered a family?
When it comes to marriage and family, my opinion is that marriage is between a man and a woman, and I think that's been my view.
So a gay couple with kids would not be considered a family to you?
You know, all of these kind of questions really aren't about what people are concerned about right now. This isn't what.
Congresswoman, you said that any candidate for president should be asked about his or her views and their record. This is a record of your statement. These were defining political issues for you as your political career advanced. You're the one who said that same-sex marriage was a defining political issue of our time. Those were your words back in 2004. So I'm just asking you about your views on something that has animated your political life.
I think my views are clear.
Okay. Final point here, and that is, again, about what afflicts Washington and the inability, it seems, to compromise. This was Michele Bachmann back in 2008 speaking to the Monticello Times. I'll put it up on the screen. Bachmann said that 6 years in the Minnesota Senate was a huge help overcoming the partisan poison that is so prevalent in Washington as well. Coming from Minnesota, you learned to reach across the aisle, Bachmann said. Some of my closest friends there are Democrats. The problems we're going to face in the next term are so big, no one party can solve them all. You have to work together. I think I've made that a priority and will continue to do that. That doesn't sound like the Congresswoman Bachmann of 2011 who's now running for the presidency, does it?
No, it really does, because when I was in Minnesota, I think one thing that I'm extremely proud of was education reform. That's where I cut my political teeth. I put 5 years of my life into changing Minnesota's education system. People said it couldn't be done, and I was able to help bring it about. We actually were able to get the federal government out of our education system and enhance our high academic standards. And I did that by bringing together Democrats, Republicans, and independents. Republicans alone couldn't have done this, but we did it together, and I brought voice to that, and I'm extremely proud of that.
Congresswoman Bachmann, much more debates to come. We thank you for coming here and answering our questions. Good luck on the campaign trail. Thanks very much. And coming up, Michele Bachmann, the big winner at the